Hello, people. Today I'm doing a review of the new Lee Isaac Chung film, Twisters. This is a sequel, reboot-ish type of film to Twister, which I did not see until a few days ago, and I honestly really enjoyed the original movie, and I thought it was quite a blast. Despite the mixed Rotten Tomato scores with critics and audiences, I had a really fun time with it. I thought it was really big, blockbuster, popcorn fun. It knew exactly what to do with the disasters, the characters, and it had the perfect ratio between character and disasters, and it did just enough to have you intrigued, but not make you feel like it was a fake out for a character story than a disaster film. It really found a perfect blend, and I loved a lot about that movie. So, watching that movie, then immediately going into this one was a little bit of a mistake because by the time I was done watching Twisters, it's so similar to Twister, I was just kind of having almost a little bit of a hard time differentiating the two of them in my head. Obviously, before I did this review, I made sure that I did, so I have a complete thought. In all honesty, there's a narrative going around that a lot of people prefer this movie to the original, and I did not. And that could be the fact that maybe I did watch them so close together. But I feel like the original movie understood what it was trying to do a little bit better. And I think it had more impressive moments for the time versus this film. For 1996, I believe, the CG on that film is incredibly impressive. And I think they did a perfect amount of CG and practical effects because I was completely immersed into that experience. And I was here, honestly, from what I can remember, only one shot that didn't look very good. But I think when you compare the 90s film and the way that impressed probably then versus the way Twisters impress isn't now, it's not as impressive because of technology advancing as much. This movie, Twisters, was shot on film, and that's a huge thing I respect. And one thing, as I said in the opening, is that this is directed by Lee Isaac Chung, director of Minari, a film that I absolutely love. And obviously, face value, this is not Minari, but I was kind of hoping for some type of directorial voice that feels at least a little similar, considering how strong and confident his voice was in Minari. But unfortunately, my biggest disappointment is that it's all completely absent here. I'm not asking for it to be a slow burn character piece, but it really feels like the thought process was Minari has fields, Twisters has fields because that's where Twisters happen. We should get Lee Isaac Chung. And I understand that, but it didn't necessarily feel like they chose him for the right reasons because I am still scratching my head of like, why did they choose him? Not that he did a bad job. I am just a little bit disappointed with the way that he helmed this film, considering that the delicacy that Minari was handled with. The biggest downgrade I would say from this is that compared to Minari is that this movie feels very corporate. It feels like it's very motivated by kind of getting a good audience score, which is completely fine. It makes a movie feel like you're going through the notions. Sometimes it might just be me, but do you ever watch a movie sometimes and you just mentally check out of it because you can just feel everything about it in a negative way? Sometimes when you feel everything about the movie, it's a good thing, but sometimes it happens in a negative way where you almost check out and you just feel like you're just watching it because you already know what's going to happen and you're just watching the noise that's in front of you. That kind of happened at moments in this movie. But I'm only saying that because of the fact that this is directed by Lee Isaac Chung and he has set an incredibly high standard for himself. So with that out of the way, I do want to say that this movie is incredibly fun. It is a very fun disaster movie to watch, turn off your brain, and to enjoy the spectacle. The twisters are cool here. They have awesome sequences. The Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones are both great in this movie. The cast overall is really good and solid. The Twister movies, when I was watching the original, I was like going, oh my god, this person, oh my god, this person. And I feel like maybe in a few years, considering that heck, one of the supporting characters is the new Superman, I feel like this movie might have the same kind of effect where you're like seeing all these people that are kind of like maybe B-listers now, but will hopefully be A-listers in coming years, like Anthony Ramos. Or one of my biggest issues with this movie is I did not really care for how it was shot. I mean, I like that they shot it on film, but I did not care for the cinematography. It felt very there's a lot of handheld and pop zooms, and honestly, that's fine. It just didn't feel like that was the movie to do it for. There's a lot of intense twister sequences, and I'm just really desiring a wide shot in many moments, and we're kind of getting slop of camera work, and I think that was one of my major complaints when I was watching these twister scenes. And another thing that is purely down to taste, I don't even want to criticize the movie for it, but it's my review, so I can do whatever I want. This movie opts a lot for like blasting country music because it fits the vibe of our characters, but I much prefer it when a movie actually wants to accept the intensity of a twister because sometimes we're driving through twisters or driving towards a twister, and I would rather like to feel the intensity of that experience versus just blasting the country music and trying to have fun. I'm not saying the movie can't have fun. We can totally have fun with the characters and introducing them, but I prefer it once we get to the twister parts, we accept the intensity just a little bit more rather than just blast country and just trying to have fun with it because that's just my taste. That's like let's say I made this movie, I would have absolutely never approved like country music blasting as we drive towards twisters. If it's diegetic sound, like it's music coming from Glen Powell's truck, that's completely fine. But when you're blasting it because as a song in the movie, that's not something I'm on board with. But like I said, that's also just a huge matter of taste. But also, why this movie feels corporate to me is because it doesn't feel like a choice that Lee Isaac Chung would make. It feels like a very not mandated. It didn't feel like a vision. It felt like a product made by a mass amount of people. And I much prefer movies that feel like an individual person, obviously. And I'm not saying that this movie has to be auteurism. When you have Lee Isaac Chung directing, to see the intimacy and delicacy from one film to see that kind of gone. I mean, not to say that these characters don't have any thought put into them. I think that Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones both do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the characters. To see a director go from almost like perfect direction to corporate stuff is scary for any type of filmmaker that actually wants to make a big movie because we can't only have Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan or James Cameron making movies that you can only tell are made by them because they're those names. We need to start giving directors a little bit more of control and trust them. You know, if Lee Isaac Chung made a fantastic film in Minari, give him complete control. Hope I didn't go on a long rant about that. Like I said, this movie is incredibly fun, and I probably rambled way too much about Lee Isaac Chung. It's a fun, solid movie with some incredible sequences that will get you on the edge of your seat. I just wish that it was a little bit more aligned with my taste, and I think that's probably the best way to put it. But I can't knock too much off of it. Is it a movie I'd watch again? I don't know. I like the original Twister. I'll definitely watch the original again. This one, maybe if someone hasn't seen it. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna give Twisters a 7.1 out of 10. Comment down below what you guys thought of Twisters, like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that, and adios.